You are about to watch the legendary story of the Odyssey, one of the greatest epic adventures in history, and the unforgettable journey of Odysseus, the King of Ithaca. This is a chronicle of survival against impossible, supernatural odds, a journey that would test the limits of human endurance and the patience of the gods. Behind them, the ruins of Troy smolder. After 10 years of brutal siege, the Greek ships finally turn their prows away from the smoke of the burning city. Odysseus commands 12 black-holed ships, packed with veteran warriors who have survived a decade of slaughter. For these men, the weight of the war is finally lifting. They sail with the overwhelming hope of seeing their wives and children again, believing their struggle has finally come to an end. The environment feels like an ally. The sea remains glassy and calm, while a steady, favorable wind carries them effortlessly toward the shores of Ithaca. On the decks, the men stow their weapons and let the wine jars run low. The watchfires are left to flicker out, and sailors sleep at their oars, convinced they have already won their way home. They drift into the deep currents of the Mediterranean, oblivious to the fact that they are crossing a domain strictly ruled by Poseidon, the mighty god of the sea. Odysseus and his crew rely on their own cleverness and past victories, but a mortal's strength is irrelevant once they have earned the spite of the gods who control the water beneath them. The air suddenly turns cold. Dark, heavy clouds swallow the horizon, snuffing out the sun and turning the morning into a bruised violet twilight. The water erupts. What were gentle swells a moment ago transform into towering walls of black water that dwarf the Greek ships. Thunder cracks with the sound of splitting stone. Powerful winds smash into the fleet, tossing the 12 ships like leaves in a gale. The destruction is swift. Several vessels are pulled into the depths, their masts snapping like dry twigs before they vanish into the churning foam. Odysseus clings to the steering oar of his own ship, shouting orders over the roar of the gale, as his men strain every muscle to keep the hull from being crushed by the weight of the sea. The sailors watch in horror as the waves move against the wind, purposefully boxing the ships in. Lightning strikes the lead masts with surgical precision. The ocean is acting with a hateful logic, moving as a single sentient weapon directed by a mind far above their own. This is no random storm. Poseidon has begun to systematically test and punish the King of Ithaca. This initial assault is merely the beginning, the first strike in a divine retribution that will haunt Odysseus for the next 10 years. The rules of their survival have changed. Every island on the horizon now hides a new danger, and every small victory will be paid for in the lives of his crew. Odysseus is known as the cleverest man in Greece, but no amount of strategy or wit can help a human escape the deliberate, inescapable anger of a god. The storm vanishes as abruptly as it arrived. The violent winds die down, leaving behind a sea that is unnervingly flat and silent. The survivors are left in a state of shock. On the few remaining ships, exhausted men look out across the water, realizing how many of their brothers were claimed by the waves. They are lost. Their charts are gone, their direction is destroyed, and the fleet is now entirely at the mercy of whatever current chooses to carry them. Through the morning mist, a new landmass slowly appears. It is a rugged island, defined by towering, impassable clefts that seem to watch them as they approach. The men have narrowly escaped the wrath of the sea god, only to drift directly into the hunting grounds of a different kind of monster. Legend speaks of a creature on this island, a giant with a single eye and a taste for human flesh that has terrified sailors for generations. To be continued in Part 3. Next part, the Cyclops, trapped inside the cave of the one-eyed giant. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to History Stories Dose so you never miss the next chapter of history.